Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly episode where we talk about movies, TV, music, and video games, not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us today on this fine July the 9th, 2024. This is episode 443. Next week will be 444, so look forward to that. But in the meantime, we've got this episode to do.
Yep. So let's get into the how we always roll into this with the music section. Start the music section with the Billboard. Start the Billboard with the Hot 100.
We have a new number
And
one.
there's a new number one. It's a bar song. Tipsy by Shabuzi.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in at two, I Had Some Help by Post Malone. Featuring Morgan Wallen. Coming in at three, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. At four, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. And rounding out your top five, $1 Million Baby by one Tommy Richmond.
Yep.
As for your albums chart, your Billboard 200, at number one, and still number one, Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. Coming in at two, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. At three, Megan by Megan the Stallion. Coming in at four, Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish. And rounding out your top five, The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess by Chappelle Roan.
Chapel. And
Chappelle?
by that reaction, I'm guessing you have not heard of Chapel Roan.
No. My
Here's your
chapel has
homework.
one P and one
Here's your
L.
homework. You and Kristen watch the NPR Tiny Desk concert for Chapel Roan. Trust me, go in blind. That's what Christy and I did. Trust me. Anyways, so the two big headlines this week are, Chapel Roan's album debuting in the top five for the first time. Not a debut, though. It actually came out last September 2023. She has slowly become bigger and bigger as 2024 has gone on, and people are starting to notice her. They're starting to play her songs on the radio. She's lining up big festival gigs. It's finally breaking through, and people have been waiting for this to happen for her. The other headline here is, you have Megan debuting at number 3 this week.
Yep. Why the sudden rise for Chappelle? Chapel.
Um, People seem divided about exactly what caused it. One of the things is that Tiny Desk concert apparently got a lot of eyes on her. And another, like I said, she got on a lot of festival stages and a lot of people are discovering her. And so she also put out a single this year called Good Luck Babe, which has been huge on social media. Big TikTok sound, which has helped her a lot as well.
All right, well, good luck to Chapel Roan. But if you like any of those albums, we have new releases, including X's by Cigarettes After Sex.
Not during or before, after.
Well, yeah, it's a fire hazard if it's during or before.
It's true.
Not after, because you already lit that cigarette. Uh, we also have Charm by Clairo. Clairo?
It's
The
Claro.
Arrow. There's a The Auditorium, Volume 1 by Common and Pete Rock.
Mhm.
There's Evolve by Fish. Yes, that
Yes.
fish.
That fish, Drew Carey, I'm sure is very happy about this.
Yes, he is. Big Ideas by Remy Wolf. And your two big releases of the week. It's here, it's there, it's everywhere. It's Artificial Paradise by One Republic.
Yeah, that one Republic.
Yep. Ryan Tedder is very happy for this.
It's around.
And of course, we have a funeral to attend. The Death of Slim Shady. Coup de grace
Yeah.
by Eminem.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I am not listening to this. If you want to give it a try and talk about it next week, then all power to you, but I don't want to.
I will try and give this a listen to. All right, let's
Fair
get
enough.
into some music news,
This is
and
a follow-up story.
it's a follow-up to a story I'm happy we are following up to.
Yes, the last line specifically of this reminded me of what this was, and I was like, "Oh yeah!" But we'll
That's
get
right,
there.
because we're going across the pond to the UK, where Coldplay has settled its lawsuit with former manager Dave Holmes. A judge approved a settlement agreement between the parties in May, with the terms remaining confidential. Both parties have agreed to bear their own costs. As Variety reported last year, Holmes, the band manager for 22 years, filed suit against frontman Chris Martin, guitarist Johnny Buckland, and bassist Guy Berryman, as well as drummer Will Champion, over a contractual dispute. It later emerged that Holmes was suing the band for £10 million, or $12 million, in relation to unpaid commission, which then led Coldplay to countersue for £14 million, $17 million, claiming that Holmes had mismanaged the production of their Music of the Spheres tour, including screens that were too big and those pylons that were too unstable or that
Those
were
pylons,
unusable. They did not use the pylons.
those pylons. So they didn't exactly get their revenge over the pylons. However, they settled over the pylons. So that means each party gets their money and they get to pretend this never happened. And presumably, I guess Coldplay has new management or has already gone through that process. I don't know how that works. I don't know when that happened. Regardless, yeah, the pylons, they're back
The
and
pylons have been settled.
money has been spent and we're good, at least for now.
Yep, both parties are bearing their own cost for their own lawyers, so no need to sue for those kind of damages.
Yep.
But yeah, now it's official. It's in the court documents, well, the royal court documents, and they can now go about their merry way
Yeah.
to a concert with usable pylons, presumably.
I will say though, pretty slow music week, but I was happy to see that the pylons returned. But besides
Yes,
that, not really much going on in the world of music this week. So there you go.
that goes 4th of July, and if you weren't performing, you were out celebrating with all your friends, having
Pretty
a
much.
white party.
Ew.
All right, let's get into some video games then. And we
Yes.
start with new releases.
A lot of them this week.
Oh, we had nothing last week, and
hmm
they're all coming this week,
Yep.
including Darkest Dungeon 2 for everything but the PC.
Yes, out of early access. That is the 1.0 release.
We also have Aerial Knights, We Never Yield for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Cataclysmo for the PC. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Sweep the Board for everything but the Switch. That's the Demon Slayer game, board game.
Yeah.
Uh, Evil versus Evil for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Flock for everything but the Switch.
hmm
Hot Lap Racing for the PC and the Switch.
That's when you spill your coffee on yourself while you're driving.
That is a McDonald's lawsuit.
Yeah.
We also have Magical Delicacy
Ooh,
for everything but PlayStation.
sure. Usually when that happens, it's a Game Pass release, so that's possible.
Yeah, but it's also on the Switch.
Right.
We also there's also Nobody Wants to Die by the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X.
But by the PC.
Yeah, nobody wants to die by the PC. There's Dungeons of Hinterberg for the PC and Xbox Series X. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn for everything but the Switch.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, there's Shim. There's my cursor for everything. Wide release. You got it. You can play it. We also have Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess for everything but the Switch.
Mhm.
And then there's your two big releases. We start with Nintendo World Championships, NES edition. Not on anything except the Switch.
Yes.
And a little game by EA called 10-Year Hiatus, or How I Started a Community in Order to Make Buko Bucks. That's right. It's here. It's finally here. We get our hands on it. EA Sports College Football 25 for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Do not worry if you haven't played the previous 24 editions. I'm sure you'll catch up.
So are you excited for college ball?
I'm excited for someone awesome to go to college, and
I mean,
they're gonna go to Ball State and ball out. Of course, that does mean I have to deny my admission to Tight End University, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
as long as you're not going to the School of Hard Knocks.
Oh no, I want to do the rare feat of not one, not two, not three, not even four, but 5 Heismans in a row. A feat that has never been accomplished in the history of ever.
Yeah, no.
In
Well, good luck
fact,
on that.
it might even allow me to do a 6th Heisman if it would let me.
You hang out long enough.
Oh no, I failed a class. I have to retake it. Super
Yeah.
duper senior.
Well,
But yeah,
good luck.
I have this on pre-order. I will be playing it with a 3-day early access, which means I
Hey,
will be streaming it Friday, Monday evening, probably.
cool.
Which means I'll be able to talk about it by the time we record next week.
Sounds good. I'll look forward to your input about I almost said Madden, about college football 25.
Yes. College football 25. Fun fact about college football 25. I haven't here the television thoughts, but we'll talk about it now. The players, because NIL deals, who have
Mhm.
decided to opt in to have their name, image, and likeness to be used in
Yes.
the game
Mhm.
will indeed be compensated by EA. There's
Hey,
about 10,000 players who have opted in to EA's NIL deal.
nice.
They will receive, in return, $600 and a copy of EA College Sports 25, makes their
feel
total value worth $670.
feel like it should be more, but the fact that they're getting anything is a step forward than where it used to
Yes,
be.
but for 10,000 student athletes, that comes out to $6.7 million that EA has to shell out
Right.
to college players.
They can afford it. That's what I'll say. They can afford it.
Yep. All right.
Anyway,
Anyways, let's get into some video game news because that was not
yes.
the news.
No.
We go to a bit of a crossover here with video games and television.
Yes.
More specifically, that Horizon series
Yeah.
based off the PlayStation's Horizon franchise. Well, the series is reportedly not moving forward over at Netflix. The project, which was being developed by the Umbrella Academy showrunner, Steve Blackman, has reportedly stalled. This reporting was part of a wider article that accused the showrunner of, quote, toxic, bullying, manipulative, and retaliatory behavior, close quote. It's unclear if the series will move forward with a different creative partner, or if the project has been scrapped, pun intended, entirely.
So I guess the question here then, if this guy really was an a-hole and no one wants to work with him anymore, do you think that it's sad that the Horizon series is collateral damage here? Were you looking forward to a television interpretation of that story, or do you think this is maybe for the best?
I think it's maybe for the best because PlayStation Studios for television I think, in my opinion,
Hmm.
has too many IPs at too many pots, too many too many streaming studios.
Yeah.
Because you have The Last of Us over at Max, you have the God of War series that's being developed for Amazon Prime, and then you have
Mhm.
the Horizon series developed over at Netflix.
Yeah.
I believe that's too many pots being spread out, because it makes you question, like, well, if this is a PlayStation production, why is it over here? Why aren't they all in the same place?
Right.
Why can't I just watch all my series in one location? It makes you wonder what you should do about it. Uh, but if it does get moved over, I hear the Boys creator, as terrible as he may be, has opening on his schedule, as that show will be wrapping up the next season. And maybe Horizon, another female-led show surrounded by an ensemble cast of creative characters, could be just the project that he's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of who picks it up, I think there's a kernel of something in there. I think that Horizon is interesting in which you kind of get a sci-fi story at the same time as you kind of get this kind of primal, like, um, and not quite caveman, but you know what I'm kind of getting at. This kind of ancient civilization kind of vibe. And you get both for the price of one with Horizon. I think there's interesting things you can do with that. And we just saw, how if you nail the tone of something with, like, say, Fallout, like if you nail it, people really enjoy it. And so if they nailed the tone of Horizon and they made a show about it, I think it could really work. But it's got to come from the top. And if the creatives are causing issues, then maybe it is, like you said, better that this moves on and they figure out something else. Because yeah, I'm a little less concerned about the about Sony kind of spreading their IP out throughout streaming services. I don't think the average person even really thinks about that. Um, Plus Netflix is the biggest one, and so people are gonna go see it. Like, people are gonna watch it on Netflix regardless. I don't know. I think that I'm curious to see what somebody can do with the Horizon show. But if this doesn't work out and this is the last we hear about it, not the end of the world.
I mean, it's not the last we're hearing about Horizon because they do have the Lego Horizon
Well,
crossover
I meant as
coming
a
out.
television show
Oh,
specifically. Like,
as a show
we'll get
specific.
more Horizon, that's for sure.
Oh, yes.
It's not going away. Sony likes it too much, and now the dude that used to be head of Gorilla is now head of
Head of
Sony,
place. Yep.
at least one of the heads. And so yeah, he's gonna want to see his baby continue. That's not a question.
I mean, if they want to go the apocalyptic route, Resistance is right there, and he's
They haven't
also
made a
part of that.
Resistance game though in a generation.
Exactly. That's why they gotta bring it back. Bring it back. Everything that's old is new again.
I guess we'll see. PlayStation 6 launch title, Resistance.
Resistance day one.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway,
Anyways, let's talk about a game that came out this week
yes, let's.
for everyone. Uh, a new game by the Genshin Impact people,
Yep.
Mio Studios, as the Hoyoverse, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Zenless Zone Zero. It's here. Triple
Yeah.
Z's, and they're not zombies?
No, it's not about zombies.
Okay. Just want to
No,
make sure because there's all the Z's.
no, nor does it make you sleep, and nor are people sleeping in it. So it's not ZZZ in that way either. No, Zenless Zone Zero has kind of caught me off guard. I went into expecting Genshin Impact. I expected a open world situation. I expected um a lot of backtracking and going back between things and a lot of like all I knew going into it was that this was going to be a sci-fi kind of cyberpunk take on that kind of game. And it was still going to be a gotcha title, just like Genshin. And it was going to be real-time combat like Genshin, as opposed to Honkai Star Rail, which was turn-based. So that's pretty much all I knew going into it. I didn't realize how weird this game is and how kind of genre mashup the end result actually is. It's not an open world game at all. There is like an open worldy hub, but you're getting in a car and going to different hubs in a very linear fashion as opposed to traveling across a map. Um, then you're not just you're not just doing real-time combat. There's also this layer that's kind of a puzzle game where you're like navigating this maze of TV screens and interacting with it in like a puzzle way. If you zoom out on it, this game is a lot more linear than I expected. And honestly, I think that makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more compelling. I think they figured out how to do something new instead of just make a different genre or a different flavored Genshin. They figured out a way to make an original product that's different enough that it's not just a carbon copy. It doesn't feel like just a flavor of the week. And yeah, I'm surprised with how much I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, it's definitely not the open world that I think you were hyping it up to
Yeah,
be, or especially what coming off of, well, coming from the studio of Genshin Impact.
yeah,
That's one of the things that got me to jump off of it was the open world, is the you have to pay
yes,
attention, that you have to follow everything and run everywhere. But here,
100%.
it's all kind of within a short distance of each other. You don't have
Hmm.
to go to that many places, and the combat is in its own separate kind of world. I was
Yeah,
really thrown off by the sudden AI layer to it too, being thrown in there as a plot point. I was like, oh, this is definitely new, like new and updated. Like you said, very kind of cyberpunk going to it.
yeah, I think it's interesting playing this after playing a little of Cyberpunk 2077 last year. You kind of get the idea that they've been really thinking about like cyberpunk as a genre and incorporating a lot of stuff. One of my favorite things about the vibe of this game is its incorporation of old technology. Like you and your sibling run a video store, like straight up VHS tapes.
Yeah.
They're like the cell phones are like really chunky, old looking kind of phones, and it's CRT televisions. It's not flat screens HD. No, these are like old stuff. However, there's also like futuristic guns and like stuff like that. So it's like this interesting kind of balance that I think a lot of really good cyberpunk fiction uses. Um, but generally speaking, though, it does have a lot of, but like outside of like the moment to moment stuff, the gotcha layer is pretty much the same as it was with Genshin. You were still grinding. You are still getting specific items to turn into other items to level up certain things. It's very much still a loot game in the way where you're getting new W engines that power your characters and you're leveling those up just like you're leveling up the characters. So if you're somebody who is like, I don't want to grind and figure all that out and look through millions of menus. This still might not be for you. There's still enough of that I think it will turn off certain people. Also, this is ultimately a personal taste thing. I'm not loving the story. I see a lot of feedback though from people who are, and people who think that it's really interesting and are really getting into the characters and the dynamic between them. But I'm let's say I'm world level 30 now, and I started skipping the dialogue at like 20. I've just kind of, it's not for me. It seems like it's well done and it seems like people are enjoying it. So if that seems cool, then cool, get into it. But I just started skipping it. But it does let you skip it, which is cool. And it gives you that option. So that way, if that's not why you're there, you can kind of just be like, all right, I get the gist of it. They're doing like a heist right now. Like, oh, you have to go and hang out with this other group that you just met who are on a construction site and you're chasing down these loaders. You get kind of the idea of a story without having to read every single bit of dialogue. At least, again, personal taste, but it's there if you want it. And it seems like it's well done.
Yeah, the voice acting is actually well done.
Yes,
If you're not skipping that, I was surprised at how much was actually voice acted in this, as opposed to just text on dialogue, which I was like,
thankfully,
oh, thank you
yes.
for doing all that.
Yeah, as someone who that is now, I let's say, more on my radar than it was before, because of reasons. Yeah, I was pretty impressed. There's some performances that I think could be better, but there are some really good performances in here as well. And so yeah, it is a little bit inspiring. But yeah, how are you enjoying it so far? I understand you're less far than I am.
Yeah, I'm not as far as you are, especially since I actually I don't know if I did it on purpose or just like blew by it. Did not sync the count on my phone to my PlayStation
Hmm.
account. So I'm further on my phone, but it does allow me when I jump into PlayStation to just zoom by all the dialogue and just to race through it, just to be like, okay, I don't really I know what the story is, so let me get to like the combat. Let me see how it is on a day-to-day, on a moment-to-moment
Yeah.
basis, rather than trying to read everything. And I will say I do like the combat. It is very smooth. The
Hmm.
transitions in and out of the characters is very well done, very flowing.
Yeah.
It does feel like at times I'm just button mashing, waiting for the trigger to the screen flash, the X, the cross to be like, okay,
Yeah.
now switch characters for the big attack.
Yeah, there is one thing that, yeah, I also like the combat. I like that once you kind of get into a real flow of it, you feel like a total badass.
Mhm.
However, if you come in after you haven't played for a little bit, I was pressing the wrong buttons all the time. Like, I really get rusty if I haven't touched it in a little bit. I start like, oh, I need to switch. I know I need to switch, but I pressed Y instead of RB, and then I'm over here smacked against the wall. There's a little bit of that. And like you said, the fact that that meter benefits from like button mashing, you are kind of like just hitting regular attack forever until you see the little light up
Until it
for the
builds
Y.
up and
You
you're like,
press
okay,
Y
now I
or
can do
a
something
triangle
else.
for you. You press triangle and then like then you're yeah. It's like it is a little bit of a waiting game, but honestly, I prefer that to what a lot of character action games do, which is just like I don't know, just hit random buttons in a different pattern for a while, and you'll figure out how to do it stylish. This is a little bit more direction, which I do appreciate.
Right, or just keep mashing your basic attack until the cooldown runs out
Yeah.
on your two other attacks.
And that's basically what I've been doing. To get really fancy, I've started like, oh, when I see in a little point, if I see somebody does have like a special ready, I'll quickly switch to them if I'm like over in a corner and
Yep.
move in, get right in front of it. But yeah, it feels really great when you get everything kind of clicking and when you do those smooth transitions correctly. There are moments where you feel pretty untouchable because in theory, if you're doing everything with the correct timing and you're dodging the red sparks as opposed to switching characters, you can pretty much do every battle without getting hit,
Yep.
as long as you're getting the timing correct on everything, which is a challenge.
Yeah. Been getting a lot of
Yeah.
S ranks on it very early on.
Yeah, speaking of challenge, I want to ask you a question because this is something I encountered. At the beginning of the combat, the story, and when you're first doing combat, it
Mhm.
asks you if you want to keep it on casual or if you want it to be like a challenge mode. Initially, it seemed like reading the comparison between the two, I was like, I feel like challenge seems hard. I'm going to stick to casual. But what I found out like a few hours in is like, that's way too easy. And I turned on challenge. I was like, oh, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel. This makes a lot more sense. I do wonder why they didn't reverse the default because it feels like the you are pretty much invincible on that casual difficulty.
So I did casual on my phone just because
Mhm.
I don't want to, well, I don't have the talent, let's say,
Yeah, the
to move
dexterity
the
to
camera, dexterity to
right.
move my person and the camera and button mash, whereas
Yeah,
I can do all of that very smoothly with a controller on the PlayStation. So for the PlayStation, I have it on the extreme difficulty that's
right.
available. But that's also just because for me and my way of playing, it's easier for me to move and button mash and transition
Mhm.
with a controller than it is with the phone. So I
Yeah.
like the casual play option on the phone because it keeps it very simple, very direct, and I'm able to do more with the controller. So
Yeah.
I like that option.
Yeah. I guess I didn't consider that on different platforms it might be different. You feel like there might be different reasons. I just got a notification. The Bachelorette started? I didn't realize.
Is that
Wow.
tonight?
Or I guess that was last night. Anyways, sorry, television news. But yeah,
We'll get there.
so yeah, I think two other things I really briefly want to bring up before we move on. I did finally around like once you're past level 30, you do finally get some of the gating, where some of the gating and grinding. But up until that, there's a surprising amount of game here that you don't have to like really think about as a new player. Like I was able to pretty much cruise to 30 without having to really worry about grinding or repeating things that much. However, that's kind of the threshold, and I'm hearing a lot of people say like 30, 32 is about where they were like, all right, I hit the I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow wall. And I think I'm finally hitting that, where I'm finally like getting like, hey, get your level up to this certain point before you can continue. And so yeah, just as a warning, you do eventually get there. The second thing I will say is it's not exactly false advertising, but they are marketing that there are 100 to 180 free pulls in the gotcha system when you start this game. Don't think you're just going to get those right away. You do have to earn them. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's an oh moment for a lot of people. I'm noticing is a lot of people are like, well, when do I get them? Do I have to do something? And then 180 pulls show up. So no, there's two caveats. One, you have to continue through the story to unlock them over a period of time. No, the game just never really tells you, okay, it's time to roll. It relies on you to figure it out, basically, to a certain extent. And the other thing that is kind of a PSA for people who were like me and were confused by it, it doesn't mean just the main one. It means any of the pulls, like pulling like currency. So there's like the multicolored film reels, but there's also the regular film reels. Those are two different currencies that you
Hmm.
can do two different kinds of pulls on. And then that's separate from the pulls that you do to get the little rabbit guys that are also like S rank and you can unlock later. So really, 180 is saying you get a variety of all three of those kinds, is I think what
It's
it
a
really
combined
means.
180. Yeah.
So you're really not getting quantity 180 of those currency. You're never getting that. So just a heads up for people who are a little unclear about it, like I was. And yeah, that's ultimately the same as Genshin, same as any of these gotcha games. If that turns you off, then this is not for you. If that's potentially like a trigger for some sort of addictive compulsive behavior, maybe avoid this. That being said, if that's something you enjoy and don't get really serious about and understand that it's a video game that's trying to manipulate you, then it's kind of fun and it's there. And it is a part of this game. It is very cool if you like the character design of a particular character that you meet during the story and you unlock the S rank version of them and you're like, cool. And now you get to control them all the time. It is a cool moment to have that moment and be like, yeah, I get to play this character now. So it's there if you want it. It's that kind of game. Just know that's the game that this is, even though the first few hours of it seems like, oh wow, I could play this forever for free. Just wait. They will eventually get you.
Yeah. It eventually always catches up.
Yep.
How many S ranks do you have?
I just have the one character so far. I have a couple of A's that I got after the main bunch. But yeah, so far I've only pulled one S rank character, Agent 11, who is pretty cool. She's got a fire katana. I like her all right. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So
Okay. Yeah, I only have one S rank on the PlayStation version. I'm sorry, like I didn't get the S rank on the phone. I was like, oh,
yeah.
was I supposed to get an S rank? No,
Who'd you end up getting?
I don't know. On the phone, I got the sword, no, the axe,
Okay.
fire axe girl.
Okay.
And then on the PlayStation, I got the akimbo dual wielding girl.
Oh, the nail gun girl?
Yes.
Oh, I think Grace, I think is her name.
Maybe, I don't
I
know.
really like her. I want to unlock her. I played her in the story missions when they assign you people, but that's the rank that I've been trying to get to. I really want her. But yeah, so far I'm having a really good time rolling with. I think I have the main electric sword girl. I play with
Yeah.
her, and then Agent 11, and then the guns guy. I've
Okay.
leveled up. That's my three that I roll with now.
I roll with sword, guns, and the uh black uh black vortex lady.
Oh.
Nicole. Pink hair.
Oh, right. I bailed on her because I didn't really figure her out. I was like, what are these
Well,
attacks?
she like synergizes with my other two people, so I was like, okay,
Okay.
I'll just keep you guys going.
Well, she's a support class, so she's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I don't even roll with a support anymore. I'm just like two attacks and a stun. But anyway. All right, that's enough. We might touch on this game throughout the year, depending on whether it does interesting stuff beyond this. But yeah, I'm really having a good time with it. Way more of a good time than I ever had with Genshin. I think this is more my speed.
Yeah, I feel myself coming back to this, especially on the mobile phone,
Yeah.
uh, to level myself. And then when I have
Yeah.
time, jump into PlayStation and then just zoom through it
Yeah.
just to get grinding too.
Of course, I do want to say we said this about Genshin as well, and then dropped off a cliff with that game. So
Well, we dropped
we will
off
see.
after the second story update.
Right. Yeah,
We
no,
got through the first story
yeah,
update just fine. It was the second one that we jumped off.
that's where they get you. All right. Anyway, let's move on into the second half of the show, where we start with television, and we only start with television with the sports corner. There it is. And we start Sports Corner with a peek into the future of when there will be no sports at all. The day without sports. But, of course, that means manly man tears are coming.
That is actually wrong.
Uh-oh, is it different this year?
Yeah, because it is occurring before the All-Star game.
How dare they?
I know, how dare they? Who messed up over at ESPN?
I know someone really dropped the ball.
The ball.
But anyway, regardless, manly man tears will occur when the ESPYs happen on Thursday, July 11th. Serena Williams is set to host. We already have some award winners that will be accepting their trophies at the ESPYs, including Steve Gleason, who wins the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, Don Staley, who wins the Jimmy V Award for Perseverance, Prince Harry, who wins the Pat Tillman Award for Service, and many other events will happen.
Yes, that Prince Harry.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, it's so weird that there's online chatter about how he should not be accepting it.
I wouldn't. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
He's he founded the Invictus Games. Been going on it for 10
Mm,
years. He did his own service in the British military. Well, service in the British military.
okay.
But yeah, it's he has an international platform to support wounded, injured, and other servicemen and active duty veterans. So that's part of what the Pat Tillman Service Award is that
Mm,
anyone who has connection with sports and military service.
okay.
But
So
then
a
again,
British
you
person.
compare that, yeah, but you compare that against Steve Gleason, who has been battling ALS, and then Don Staley, who is a U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame member and Women's Basketball Hall of Fame member.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah,
Well, we
one
will
of these things is
see.
not like the other, but we'll
Yeah.
have the show on Thursday.
Well, it's just a couple of days in the future. Yep, exactly. I'll let your internet connection catch up real quick. You're going through a blip. But yeah, so the SB is Thursday. But in the meantime, if you like sports, there's pretty much only one sport to engage in this week, which is baseball. We still have a few games till the weekend where the All-Star shenanigans begin.
Hey, hey,
But in the
hey.
meantime, oh, you you're coming in and out.
That's because you forgot about Wimbledon.
I can't.
That's right. Wimbledon is this weekend. The finals are this weekend. We will know who will be in the finals in a couple days. But for now, we waiting for the semifinals to occur.
Yeah, sorry about that. Is this me? I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. Someone's connection is bad. Anyway, it says it's okay. But yeah, so yes. And also the Paris Olympics were happening July 26th. We should mention that every time. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yes, the All-Star shenanigans are coming up very soon. But before that, we do have a few baseball headlines for you. The Braves are currently leading the league in shutout wins. They have 11 of them this season, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, they have 11 goose egged opponents 11 times, but they're also not the most winningest team, as that currently belongs to the Phillies at 58 wins, and no one's
Yes,
cracked the 60 mark yet. But I'm
not
sure we
yet.
will before the All-Star break.
Right before, probably. Next up, Ben Rice has become the first Yankees rookie with a 3-homer game. I saw the highlights for this and I was just like, holy crap, this guy. Where'd he
Yeah,
come
I was like,
from?
who's this guy? I was like, oh,
Yeah.
he's a rookie. Then I also saw that it was a quickly pick up this rookie in your fantasy baseball team.
Yeah. Turns out. Yeah, hot pick right there.
Yep.
All right. Now let's talk about the events of the All-Star game, including the home run derby. First off, it's gonna be a little different this year. They've shaken up the format. The first round will no longer be a head-to-head maximum of 40 pitches.
No, there won't
Uh,
be head-to-head matchups. There will be
uh,
a maximum of 40 pitches thrown. The new bonus round, if you hit your bonus balls, is now a 3-out bonus round instead of a timed 60-minute or timed 2-minute round. And the top 4 will advance to the semifinals.
Thank you. And I added semicolons to make sense of how you wrote that.
Okay.
Anyway, sometimes I wonder if you should just do this section because you write it in such an esoteric, specific way that I have no idea how to interpret it. We'll talk about it. Anyway, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that affects the flow of it a little different, if it will like make a little more sense and break less people's swings.
I think it's meant to not tire them out so
Yeah.
much in the beginning,
Hmm.
where you have someone starting off with 40 home runs, 50 home runs in the first round, and then only getting to 17 or 18 in the finals. It's supposed to
Hmm.
help save their swing and save their power. They're also looking for more finesse instead of just how many pitches can you get through. Although on
Right.
average, they've seen that it's about 43 pitches in the first round. So 40 pitches is like right around the average for the past couple of years.
All right. But who, you ask, will be participating?
Who will be participating?
So far, our participants will be Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles, Alec Boehm from the Phillies, Pete the Polar Bear Alonso from the Mets, because of course, Bobby Witt Jr. from the Royals, Marcel Ozuna from the Braves, and Jose Ramirez from the Guardians, as well as two more to this date unannounced competitors.
Uh, it's currently unannounced because typically we have 8 competitors and we've only named 6. There's no word if last year's winner, Vladdy Daddy Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
will be making an appearance. Probably will. We
Maybe.
already know that Shohei Ohtani will
Hmm.
not be participating,
A name I'm sure a
although
lot
he
of
could
people
change
are
his mind.
yeah. Another name that people are probably wondering about is Aaron Judge, who is still, I believe, the home run leader.
Yes, he is currently the home run leader. He is also was the home run king last season,
Hmm.
and he really doesn't participate in these kind of
Right.
events.
I think it's kind of probably why. Reason I would guess is probably the same reason why Otani is not participating, because they want to keep him in tip-top shape for the season proper.
Yep. Uh, but your favorite going in is Pete the Polar Bear Alonso, who
Yes.
will be chasing his 4th home run derby championship.
So we'll see if he can do it and ice out the competition yet again.
Uh,
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's it for sports, unless you have any other sports news you want to talk about.
nope, because the NFL is out of season, the NBA is out of season, and the NHL is out of
Yes.
season.
So baseball's all you're getting. Take that. All right. Let's move on out of sports and into television news proper. Our story takes us to the world of anime, specifically the world of Crunchyroll, where they have had quite a week of damage control. Crunchyroll has deleted and disabled their comments platform across their entire website, including episodes and news articles. Crunchyroll support states that its measure aims to reduce harmful content and prevent misinformation with the goal of improving the overall user experience. This is coming shortly after a viral Twitter post about Twilight Out of Focus, where a user highlighted certain comments on the first episode. Additionally, there have been multiple posts criticizing the translations of My Dear Friend Nokotan, which some users claim were generated by AI. It's unclear whether these directly affected the decision or if it had been previously planned. But in a statement, quote, to maintain a safe and respectful community environment, we are hiding all existing user-generated content, including comments and reviews, across all of our platforms and experiences. We encourage fans to share comments and connect with other fans on our social media channels. The user rating system will, however, remain, allowing you to express your opinions through star ratings. This is pretty much, I feel, just a reflection of where we're at with comment systems pretty much anywhere,
Mhm.
which is they're pretty much just used for hate. They're just used to argue and to mislead people. And that's kind of what's happened to Crunchyroll. It's kind of a weapon that an already caustic fan base, if you know anything about anime forums on the internet, you'll know they already are known for having wars with each other and infighting and gatekeeping, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not super surprised by this, but it's still not a great look.
No, there's also rise of bots
Yeah.
and disinformation, as you said, spreading. And if people slash when people engage with the bots, it just further enables them to
Yes.
keep promoting the bots' comments.
Yeah.
They promote each other's comments, and soon there'll be a wasteland hellscape of nothing but bots commenting on bots on commenting on bots.
Right. But that's just X at this point.
Yeah.
Uh
But this is also like why like forums,
hmm,
specifically fan forums and fan wikis, where there are moderators who take their job very seriously in helping to promote a safe and toxic free environment,
hmm,
seem to be less and less everywhere now. Because even though they're there moderating it on their own time, the parent company can come in at any time and just shut them off. And I
yeah.
just feel it's only a matter of time until YouTube comes around and does the exact same thing.
YouTube's so big though that that's such a big moderation ask. They would
Mhm.
have to somehow silo off certain sections of YouTube in order to make that manageable, and I don't think they will. So
Well,
I
right
don't
now
think
it's up to the whoever posts the videos, content that they have the ability to turn off comments as well.
I I think yeah, that's true. On a channel by channel basis, you can do that. But I think what's more likely is that these companies are going to start looking for automated moderation options. They're going to try to fight bots with bots, is what I would imagine.
Mhm.
You already see that happening on platforms like Twitch, where there's live auto moderation that removes spam posts or whatever from the chat in real time. You do already see that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction that they go, because they don't want to hire people to do that. God, no. Who wants that? Anyway,
No, you could
but
pay
yeah,
a AI bot uh get megabytes, kilobytes instead of actual dollars.
something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's still it's not super surprising, but it is disappointing that if somebody just wanted to say, I really liked this anime, they're overwhelmed with reasons not to do that, and they're pushed out of that zone.
Or if you like this anime, check out this other anime.
Right.
And then being bombarded with it's nothing like this anime. What are you talking about?
Right, right. Just people who are just angry and have hills that they want to die on about their shows and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sad, but that's the internet for you. Womp womp.
Womp womp indeed.
All
So let's
right.
talk about some stuff that we watched on the internet.
Yeah, speaking yeah. Hopefully not speaking of womp womp. We have a couple of shows that we want to talk about. We'll start with the lighter one first before we really dive in. You watched the first of three upcoming Hard Knocks series. First off, we have the off season with the New York Giants. So,
Yes.
how are the Giants doing these
Well, one,
days?
they're terrible. Do not root for the New York Giants, whatever you do. Second, I was not planning on watching this.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I don't care about the New York Giants. I don't care about the off season. I'm not gonna watch this. And then I watched it out of just pure curiosity, the first episode. And you know what I found out? All of these executives in the Giants organization, specifically Giants, not about all NFL organizations. I'm just talking about specifically the Giants organization because that's the only one they're highlighting here. Every one of these Giants organization people talk about these football players the same way I talk about them in fantasy sports. Whether they're going to be good next year, what do they need to improve upon? How much like value can you get out of a player? And this is all leading up to, of course, the NFL draft. Right now, this is still the preseason, where the season has ended. January, they're done, and it's now the off season as they prepare for the draft. They have 100 days to do so, and so they're trying to figure out their own personnel. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, there's nothing unique that they're talking about. There's no hidden egg. There's no like aha moment in this thing of like that's why they get paid millions of dollars here. I'm like, no, they were just in the ranks. They just started off low. They just kept in the system. They bounced around to different coaches, and they made one or two good moves over the course of their career. And now they're in the GM position. But it doesn't seem like there's no winning formula. There's obviously no like school or college that you have to go to get a degree to be a general manager or
Mm.
to be a scout. You just have to be really good at identifying talent, which is in itself a really hard thing to do. And I understand that. But at the same time, there is nothing, there's no better teacher than experience and being around them and being around people who have that experience. And that's why I realized while watching is like, yeah, it seems like anyone can do this job, but also if they get it wrong, oh, and they get it wrong a lot. We've seen a lot of NFL people get it wrong, that they will easily get fired. But then when I see like, oh, they just talk about they just bounce around everywhere. I was like, is it really not that hard? Is it really just an in club? And I think that's what I'm getting out of this is that it's really just guys just making fantasy football just on an actual like money scale,
Mm.
which is kind of like endearing to see, but also, oh my god, these guys are such idiots, aren't they? They're just talking just like us.
They
I
don't.
know just as much as they do about this stuff.
Yeah, what do they say about becoming an adult is just realizing that nobody knows what they're doing. You're having
Oh,
that, but
that's
with
that's everything
football.
right here. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's just the thing is that there's so many. This is probably just an example of like there's so many situations like this where you think somebody who would have institutional knowledge is just flying by the seat of their pants and running a football team, a huge organization, seems like it would require something more than that, but guess not.
Nope. I mean, it's also why the Giants are routinely like in terrible position that they are.
Right.
But hey, like I said, this is just about the New York Giants. Maybe other football teams do it better. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to wait a couple more off seasons to see if they do it better, if they
Perhaps so.
want to continue this. But
Yeah.
highlighting the New York Giants of all football team just shows like it can be a shit show. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what Hard Knocks might have been expecting is like, we can make it a shit show if we want to show the edits like this.
Yeah, they do have control over that edit. They could
They
like try
do.
to spin it positive if they wanted to. The fact that they're not is more making you wonder, like, is this on
But that's
purpose?
the thing, though, like, are they actually really showing me the best parts and everything else is just worse that they have to leave on the cutting room floor? Like, is this
Ooh,
really them putting the Giants as the best possible foot forward?
who can say?
I don't know. I need to talk to my Giants
Yeah,
extraordinaire.
you do have a Giants expert that you
Yes.
can consult about this.
But yeah, I'll give it a couple more episodes, but at least until the draft. But man, it's just funny to hear watch them just talk about players and like, oh, like we could get this guy, and this guy's really good, and this guy's available in the off season. They put like dollar amounts to everyone. It was like, wait, they're just doing fantasy football like auction drafting now. See how much money they can put on a player. Like, it's just funny to see.
We'll see. Anyway,
But anyways, we teased it up last week.
yes.
We were ready. I was ready to serve it up. B said, nope, you need to refire.
Yes.
Ticket was not done, and now we have to refire it for another week.
Yes.
And here we are to talk about the bear.
Yes, I've got it ready. I'm just yelling hands, and we're gonna take it to the
The
table
pass.
now. Okay, so I will open this conversation by asking a very simple question. This is getting very divisive reactions on the internet. Why do you think that is? Do you think that there maybe is a difference between what people were expecting after season two and what they made season three?
I think people are divisive because there's no ticking clock to
You
it.
mentioned this last week, yeah.
I talked about that last week, yeah. That season one, there's the tension of Carmi coming into the original beef and wanting to do something different, training a new person, dealing with a chaotic staff in a chaotic kitchen, and ultimately deciding that he wants to run it how he wants to run it, that he no longer wants to be the beef, he wants to run it as restaurant the bear. And then season two is building up that restaurant. It's setting it, that first episode is setting the deadline of we can do this in uh in 5 weeks
Mm,
sorry, in like 5 months, and then realizing no, we need to do it in 5 weeks. And so you feel that tension of everything has to run against the clock, because if they don't open then they're screwed. Here in season three, there is no time limit, there's no eating at them. Although that is a running theme, is being haunted
mm,
by people, especially ghosts of your past, throughout the season, while also being combated with the idea of a legacy, of what you
mm,
want to leave behind, of what you want to leave forward, what you're instilling in other people. So it kind of butts heads against each other, but that lack of overall time clock, time tension that they're running against, and it's more tensions just amongst everybody butting heads.
mm,
The difference between front of house and back of house, the difference between what you want to be, what you are going forward, the people who instill the values in you, what you are passing on.
mm.
It's a lot of those moments that I don't think people wanted, which is why it's getting a negative review out there.
Yeah, I think so. Part of the reaction has been kind of interesting to see how people are trying to like bring a meta kind of a meta angle and interpretation to this. There's a certain quotient of people who are like, "Oh, well, it's supposed to be making you like dislike it because it's supposed to be like reflection of what the characters feel like trying to trying to do this restaurant. It's like a television show that is supposed to be like representative of how it feels to be frustrated with the fact that you can't do the thing that you want. I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that they were
Yeah,
really in trying that to do that on purpose. I don't think anybody makes a television show to annoy people, like especially not something like the relatively mainstream like the bear. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. My read on it was to your point, it's almost an inverse of what they've done before. They took this very like these broad strokes about like people having these big blow up arguments with each other, things like that are like very like you said, actual ticking clocks and actual goals that you're seeing them like trying to attack. And it's taken that and it's almost it's the complete inverse where it's like, no, this is all about what's going on strictly in their heads. that all these characters get their kind of chance to you get their chance to like really delve into what's going on in their psyche. Are they okay? Why might they not be okay? Like, what are the factors that have led to this? What are the internal factors here? It's very internal season. So much of the things that happen here are not external. A lot of people pointed out the bar doesn't really change from the end of season 2 to the end of season 3. It's pretty much they're dealing with the exact same problems. But that doesn't mean that nothing happens. That doesn't mean that it's boring. I think that what they've done here is that they've really explored what it's like to almost like have a series of short stories in a way about like what's going on in the psyches of these people and why that matters. And that's why I really liked it, honestly. I'll be honest, I don't get why so many people are like, oh, it was so boring, nothing happened. To me, I think it's a fascinating example of creatives taking a television show and being like, well, does it have to be this? Why not try something different? Why not do something that we want to do with these characters? Dive into a pool that we really want to just swim in for a little bit and then get back to, the issues at hand in a later season or like get there later. But instead, make something new and original and try something different for a change and not necessarily deliver the exact same thing.
I think the fans who are negative on this were expecting that WoW episode, but they never got it or they never saw it.
I don't know what show they're watching because
I don't
I
know
saw at
either
least
because,
2 or 3 WoW episodes personally to me in this
well, yeah,
season.
because if you're comparing it to season one, the
Mhm.
review, which was a one shot,
Right.
and then season two, which had both fishes and forks, which was
Yeah.
one was a super extended episode, a 90-minute basically,
Right.
and one was just a flat out gorgeous episode in forks.
Yeah.
If you're expecting something to follow up to that, I think people would have felt let down.
Yeah, but instead you get an entire episode that's basically just a flashback with Tina and about
Yes.
like her kind of origin story with the bear, which is again beautifully shot, well paced, a really good like just character study. And then you also have a episode that is entirely just about what it means to have a child, to go through labor and like really get in there and really explore what it is moment to moment and how the dynamic changes between your mother and talk about motherhood and what that means like as time goes on and those relationships. I thought that was a fascinating choice. They didn't have to do that, but they thought that there was something there storytelling wise that they really wanted to dig into, and they did it. And it was amazingly well shot and it was amazingly written. And I just don't see what people are complaining about. I don't know
I'll tell
where.
you. I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
where
You know
did
what
you
they're
land
complaining
on all of
about.
this?
You know why they're complaining about. It's because that episode specifically has nothing to do with the restaurant. It has nothing to do with the bear. It has
But
nothing to
that's the
do with
thing.
Carmi. It has nothing to do
Yes,
with anything about why I'm watching this show.
but
Why does she have to get pregnant? Why am I
yeah,
watching a whole episode about a daughter and mother basically arguing the whole time? Why am I watching this
yes.
episode that has nothing to do with moving the story forward? It
But
feels like a complete waste of a
yes,
sidetrack character
but
that is nothing to do with anything here.
here's my question. Here's my response to that, which is the question. If you're asking those questions, you really have to ask yourself why you watch television. What are you going to a television show for? Because I think the answer to that question is going to be different from me and the person who's asking all those questions.
I mean, I'll answer all those questions about why it's here because
Sure,
it
but
follows the goddamn theme about legacy. It follows the
yes,
goddamn theme about being haunted.
yeah,
She literally was calling everyone else except her mom, and as a last resort,
right.
decided to call her mom. And in that moment, she had to confront the person who has been haunting her for her entire life. She
So
had to
yeah,
confront the legacy of bringing a child into this world.
right.
She had to confront literally the two main themes of this
Yeah,
whole season. If you get
yes,
anything out of this season,
yeah.
this one episode defines what it is without ever having
Mhm.
stepped into the restaurant.
So okay, we do not have time to get into the can of worms, which is do modern audiences have media literacy? And like why are and this is coming up in every media. I've seen this in
Mhm.
video games, I've seen this in movies, but right now we're seeing it with television, which is there's just this weird like disconnect that I think some audiences have, which is, well, if this isn't serving me, is entertaining in the way that I want to be entertained, and this isn't serving me in the way that I want to be served, then I am not interested in it. And I think it's bad. There is
You
this
could take
disconnect
that
that people don't
direct
understand.
quote and
Yeah,
look right at to the boys, where everyone
right.
is turning on them because it's showing a
Yes,
mirror right to their faces and be like,
right.
"What do you mean this has been a joke to me? What is this? What are you doing? This isn't the show that I liked in season 1 and season
Yeah.
2."
To be fair, that's not everybody. I do want to
Yes,
note that Christy has largely sided with the majority here and did not enjoy her time with season three, though she explained it in a way that I think differentiates it from what we're describing right now. I think she understands what it's trying to do. I think she knows kind of the broad strokes of what they're trying to do with storytelling. Like she knows enough about, storytelling where she understands that that's the gist of it and the symbolism and all that stuff. But her argument was is that she just liked the show better when there was more action on screen and then there were things happening and that there was a through line from point A to point B. There's change, there's some sort of momentum. And she just felt that by the end of season three, she didn't feel it as much as she felt, especially in season two. She told me that she is now so confident in season two that she thinks it is the best season of television, period, that she's seen since season one of The OC. That's how high she is, just for context, on season two of The Bear. And so
that's
she
high
says that
praise.
this was such a different thing for her and so not did not deliver what she wanted that she was super disappointed. And so I do want to be clear that there's a spectrum here of opinions. Not everybody who disliked season three is the person we're describing as the media illiterate. I just want my show to be my show for people. There's
Mhm.
also more nuanced opinions, and I understand that. But I do want to ask the people, even if they do kind of have that, is like, why do we want these television shows to continue being the same thing? Why is that an inherent need? Is it because it brings us some sort of comfort? Is it a comfort food issue that we're talking about here? Where it's like, oh, I really liked this this show because it gave me this one feeling and I want it to continue giving me that feeling every time I return to that. I mean, there are shows that do that. There's a reason why procedurals are the most popular genre of show and why CBS has made buco bucks on a certain demographic watching them forever. It's because they deliver the same thing every week and you know exactly what you're getting into and you never are surprised by it. But I think the cool thing about shows like The Bear and prestige shows in general is that they've proven just like movies and just like books and just like video games and all the best art, they can surprise you and they can turn a left turn and be like, no, we're going to do something different for a little bit. And I love that. And I will celebrate that anytime that I get to, because we're in a media landscape right now where that is getting more and more difficult to do. I said it, I think, before on this podcast. I'll say it again. Television feels to me like one of the last bastions where creatives can just do a thing and put it out, and it can be weird. You can't, it's getting harder to do that in movies and get distributed. It's harder to do that in books than ever. And it's probably the hardest to do in mainstream video games. Television, you can just edge by, and stage and theater is another example of you can still be weird. You can still be extremely creative and blow these things up. You can blow entire genres up and make something completely new. It's getting harder and harder to do that though. And so I feel like we should celebrate and really enjoy and hold on to the moments where something this mainstream, this something like everybody's watching, like The Bear, gets to do something experimental and gets to do something different because there aren't a whole lot of that left.
I think we just have with that.
But so you generally like to, I keep trying to fish for your opinion here and not really getting it.
Oh, I liked it. Okay, I enjoyed my time with it. I do feel like compared to the first two seasons, the ending is feeling a bit ambiguous where they don't I don't know if they don't know where they want to go with it or if it's one of those just really cliffhanger endings where
Yeah.
they just don't know who's going to come back, what kind of stories they
Well,
want to tell with season 4.
to that point, it seems like there have been people that have kind of tried to dig into this by looking at old interviews and trying to piece together the story here. From what people have gathered, and this is where I'm at with what I've read, they had an idea essentially for one big season that eventually got so big that they had to separate it into pieces to the
Mhm.
point where even entire episodes, like entire series of episodes, used to be one episode that they had to separate. Like there was an interview with Richie's actor Moss Baccarat, where he basically asked him how it was, what the experience was filming the bear, and he even said he was like, I don't know, it swallows you and then spits you out at the other end, and you don't know what episode was which and like where the story is going to end. So I think what people have figured out is the reason why they do that really rough cliffhanger is because originally this was one season.
Mhm.
It's now become two, and they are going to do the resolution of this in season 4. They've already filmed some of it, but not all of it, from what I understand. So presumably that means everybody will come back. It's not that I don't think that's really the question. The question is were they able to figure out how to divvy up these scripts into ways like into chunks in ways that make sense to fill 2 full seasons? And it sounds like they have.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like I liked where it ended. It did feel like well, it ends with a funeral, but I feel like that's a very good, clean break because
Yeah.
it's a funeral. It's the end of the story they were telling, like I said, about legacy, about your demons, about confronting the haunting, and that it does feel like it's a end of a theme that they were going with, and in the transition of the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Thematically, I think it ends well, but it's story wise, it leaves you hanging. And I think
Yes.
that, yeah, I think that that does annoy some people. Last question I will ask before we move on. The other hot button issue with season 3. How do you feel about those facts? Do you think that they are annoying or do you think that they are funny? Because this seems to be a huge division.
Uh, Fact number 3 kind of put me off, actually.
Oh, John
I
Cena
was,
fact?
yes, it was a Cena fact. I was like, why? I think it fit perfectly amongst them, but also I was like, but every time I look at you, I only see John Cena. I
Right.
don't see Fack. Especially since the other two are like, especially Maddie Matheson,
Hmm.
very tatted up, very
Yeah.
much hairy, very much beard and slick back hair, and it's like the full like Chicago feel of it. And then here comes John Cena, who's too good looking to be a Fack.
Yeah.
Who's very much not of the same build, of the same type. I think he bounces off well with them. It definitely shows his comedic chops to it and his timing, but just the look of it throws me every time.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think for the most part, their scenes didn't really bug me as much as it's bugged some people. I do think that some bits were better than others, and some bits did kind of go a little too long. That being said, though, what it made me think of is like of how weirdly old-fashioned that is on a show like this to have such comic relief characters. Because when you think of modern prestige cinema or prestige television, so much of it is just no, we're going to be down here in this dark, serious tone for the entire time and really drag you down into the depths. Back in the day, that's not how stuff was made. Like if you look at like classic movies and classic TV shows, even shows that were serious would sometimes just completely cut over here and be like, oh, no, we're gonna have some jokesters do some jokes at you for a little bit, and then we'll swing back to the dramatic story in a minute. That's what this feels like to me, is I think that it just feels like a very old-fashioned approach at storytelling. Is just like, and so that to me felt like, oh, feels more like an homage as opposed to something that they don't know what the tone they want to be. I think they're very aware of the tone they want, and this is just something fun on the side as a palate cleanser.
Yeah, but I
So,
think it was too much fun because he ranks as a guest star. Let's put it that way. He's a guest
Sure.
star amongst the cast. But when they've done the guest stars before, especially in season two, they were more of a serious role. Like
Yeah.
you have Olivia Colman, you have uh um Bob Odenkirk coming in,
Hmm.
Jamie Lee Curtis coming in, and they're serious roles. They're not there for comedic relief. Just have John Cena come in to just be the comedic tension, breaking the tension while also bringing his own tension. And for most people, I mean, for me, just as you said, serving you on a spoon. What the theme is about haunting and being haunting people.
Yeah.
Like, how can it be more obvious than that? But it does break from the like I said, the previous guest roles that have been on here.
Yeah. All I'll say is it didn't bug me as much. It's not a deal breaker for me, but I am very curious to see if that is something they do here and not again
Mhm.
in season 4.
I do like that they kind of planted the seed of there being five facts, and like maybe we'll see all five of them eventually.
We still haven't had the ultimate shoe drop, which is the one that Sugar hates.
Fanny fact.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't seen them face off yet. We finally got our moment between Carmi and Spoiler, but we haven't had that moment yet. And
Yes.
so I'm really looking forward to that to finally happen. Anyway, all right. Well, that's enough of the bear. Um, we should probably finally move on.
Yeah, let's move on then. Did you watch anything else?
No, that's pretty much we finished that and finally, and then we were like, all right, now we're just gonna watch Beat Shazam. Jamie Foxx is back. Anyway,
I've been
let's
watching
talk
more of
about
the 1% with us not surprised anymore, Patton Oswalt.
right, exactly. You expect him now. He's not surprised.
Yeah, I'm expecting him there. But also, those questions are pretty easy.
Hmm,
Like they're
that's
not as
true.
difficult. Maybe I am in the 1% of logic thinking here.
Dang. Wow. Humble
I
brag over
should have
here.
auditioned.
I guess so. All right, let's move on into our last segment of the day, which is movies. And we always start the movie section with, oh, wait, no, I'm getting
No,
ahead
no,
of
no,
myself.
no. Back
We
it
need to
up.
do very quick cancellations and renewals, actually, before we do that. We start with
What am I no
Outer.
longer watching?
Yes, we start with Outer Range, which has been canceled after 2 seasons on Prime Video. We have Make or Break, canceled after 2 seasons on Apple TV Plus. And in Renewal Town, we have The Completely Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin, which has gotten a completely made up season 2 on Apple TV.
Yes, that is a completely made up show.
Turns out. All right, now we'll go into movies. And now we'll go to the weekend box office numbers,
Yep.
where your number one movie, to no one's surprise, was Despicable Me 4 to the tune of $75 million. That's over the holiday week. So this is the 4-day numbers, I understand.
That's the 30-day weekend. The
Hmm.
122 is the 4-day number.
Okay, so we're gonna so yeah, okay. We're talking about the just 3-day then.
Yep.
But yes, 122 total so far domestic. So yeah, of course those movies do pretty well in their debut. But not quite Inside Out numbers.
Not quite, but hey, it's got some room to work with because Inside
Yeah.
Out 2 continues to make money.
Yes, it is number 2 this week with another $30 million and sitting pretty at 534,000 or million, whatever number I'm working with here.
Thousand
Um,
tickets.
yes, domestic so far. Your number 3 movie, A Quiet Place Day One, $20 million and 93 million to date.
That will cross the 100.
It will. Number 4, Maxine made $6.7 million in its debut. And then rounding out your top 5, Bad Boys Ride or Die hangs on with another $6.5 million. That's at 177.
How does it feel for the minions to catch Will Smith in 2 weekends?
I guess so. It just goes to show you. Um, those action movies just don't have the pull like they used to.
Yeah.
But this week we have one big release. The
Scarlett Johansson.
yes, the Scarlett Johansson vehicle, Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah, they were able to license that song.
Yeah. It's her and Channing Tatum and maybe trying to fake the moon landing, but also not trying to fake the moon
As a
landing.
backup, right? That's what I got from the
Yeah,
trailer. It's like they're
that's
faking
the
it, but it's really
gimmick.
happening. But just in case it doesn't, they have a backup.
Yes.
Yes. All right. All right, let's talk about some movie news. We talked a little about Paramount in the last few weeks, but this time it's official, baby.
The ink has
Skydance.
been dried. Well, the ink has
Yes,
been signed.
incorrect. Skydance has officially agreed to merge with Paramount Global, capping off a months-long negotiation and a deal that would see the Redstone family step away from control of the storied movie studio and media company. Skydance founder David Ellison, son of Oracle founder and multi-billionaire Larry Ellison, will be at the helm of a major Hollywood studio. The merger is subject to regulatory approval, of course, and expected to close in the third quarter of 2025. So it'll be a whole calendar year until we see the results of this, of course, pending legislation.
Mhm.
It also includes a 45-day go shop period in which the Paramount Special Committee can solicit other offers to see if they get outbid here. But that's unlikely.
Yes, but I have started a GoFundMe to where if we can raise $8 billion, we can
Uh-huh.
buy Paramount Global.
I really
I just
don't.
need everyone on the planet to contribute $1 and we can make it.
I really don't want to buy Paramount. I don't know if you want to run a studio. I don't want to run a studio personally. Seems like a pain.
Well, the son of a billionaire wants to run a studio. Of course,
Yeah,
when I say
of
son,
course he
he's
does.
like 45.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Son of well, Larry Ellison's been around for a long time. So
yes.
no surprise there. All right. So, yeah,
Uh,
that just kind of confirms something we've been following for a little bit. No super surprises there. It will, of course, all depend on regulation and legislation and who gets elected into the White House and builds a cabinet in November because it will be faced with whatever the FCC looks like then, not the one that we have now.
this also does explain why Paramount decided to axe all of its media
Mm,
last week
right.
because of the pending sale.
Yep, clean up their books so that way they have a very slim portfolio to hand over and say this is what you're buying.
Yep.
All right. All right, that does it for movie news. We didn't watch any movies this week, right? No,
Nope.
no movies.
No movies.
Okay.
I did see some stuff that I might catch up on Peacock, including Monkey Man, the action movie with
Monkey
Dev
Man.
Patel.
Yep.
But other than that, I also might catch up on Kong vs. Godzilla: A New Empire on Max.
Ah,
All
it's on
that
there
is
yet.
available now too.
All right.
Yeah, period
Cool.
piece.
Yes. All right. Well, if we do those, we'll talk about those next week. But for now, that's it for the show today. That wraps it up for movies. That wraps up for the Media Boat podcast. Thank you for watching us. If you want to see us in video form, you can do so on YouTube. Search Media Boat Podcast to find our channel. You can like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications when videos go live. You can also listen to us in audio form on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, search Media Boat, and you'll find us. You can also find us on the web. We are on social media platforms like Twitter/X, where we're at MediaBoatCast. We're on Facebook, search MediaBoat. We're on twitch.tv/MediaBoat if you want to see Mike playing some college football later this week. You can also find us on MediaBoatPodcast.com, where we have an archive of our shows. And last but certainly not least, if you have questions, comments, and want to be heard, you want to have your question read on the podcast, you can email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. And I will do it. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next week for even more stuff. We'll be talking about maybe some college football. We'll be talking about some I don't know even what else. Surprises. We'll come up with something. We'll have something to talk about next week,
The
guaranteed.
ESPYs,
Yeah, the ESPYs, Manly Man
Manly
Tears. So
Man
get ready.
Tears. All
All right.
that and more next time.
See you
All right,
then.
bye.
Bye.